Hello, my name is Erma, student ID 3481140. Today I'll be presenting a work in progress of my client project for the Monash Climate Change Communication Research Hub. My project is titled Building Climate Literacy Knowledge and Waste Management Through Youth-Led Action in Rural Areas of Java, Indonesia. There are two kinds of problems that I come across when I'm doing my research on this topic. First, poor infrastructure and inconsistent policy execution that cause persistent waste management issues in many areas of Java, coastal, and rural areas. Second, some communities in the area have poor levels of climate literacy, which discourage people from engaging in local projects and doing their sustainable effort according to the World Bank on 2001. The effectiveness of grassroots environmental activism is constrained by these problems, rooted from internal organizational difficulties, restricted area sources, and external opposition from influential groups, according to Sustainability Director in 2025. Therefore, these problems emphasize the significance of a successful climate communication tactics that can encourage action as well as increasing awareness, which makes this research directly directly correlated to MCCRAH goals of enhancing communications about climate change in Southeast Asia. Next, my response to the feedback on my previous assignment. So in assignment one, my background research leaned more into descriptive, and while I read on my tutor's feedback, I am now adding more data from some academic articles that focuses on youth activism in Indonesia. As an example, in this occasion is an article created by Puskapa that titled Understanding Youth Engagement in Climate and Environmental Issues in Indonesia, which this article reveals that youth are motivated by both direct environmental impacts and community values. They have a critical role in tackling environmental issues and climate change, and it is the responsibility of societies, organizations, and governments to make sure they have a significant say in determining public policy, according to Kusumaningrum in 2023. Furthermore, I will also be expanding my literature review by reviewing important discussions on grassroots communications rather than just focusing on only the context. And by doing this method will help me to demonstrate how Pandawara Group fits and fill in the gap between my research. And while working on my research, the initial analysis that I've encountered give me an idea of how this environmental group is very crucial and effective in bringing local communities together, as I referred before on assignment one, that quote unquote called screen to ground approach. Their use of satire and attention grabbing style content, as well as catchy thumbnail photos that is able to draw a lot of view and engagement, especially on viewers of TikTok. While although TikTok is successful as a catalyst to communicate Pandawara social campaign and set their effort as an inspiration for people to implement in real life, and on the other hand, the key findings that I have encountered so far consist of three main points. First, Pandawara's advertisements demonstrate how humor and satire on social media can garner a lot of interaction, particularly on TikTok. But however, when these messages are viewed outside of their local context, they may also be misunderstood by viewers. Second, their efforts are quite successful at organizing short-term cleanup efforts, or what I called before, and as I mentioned, the screen to ground strategy. However, coverage is still unequal, with coastal and rural areas continuing to be left out of their projects. And lastly, third, even though climate centric message is crucial, its influence may be limited because it doesn't often reflect local people's daily worries or their worldviews. Therefore, this result implied that in order to maintain a long-term behavioral change, future programs must be increased outreach in rural areas and modify climate communication for local contexts. And these are my list of references for this presentation. That is all. Thank you.